Thoroughbreds is a 2017 thriller with dark comedy elements starring Olivia Cooke, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Anton Yelchin in one of his last performances. Because it is, in essence, about two socially outcast teenagers who decide to commit a murder, it is, of course, compared to Heathers all of the damn time. Today, I want to talk about a single shot from this movie, which I love, and talk a little bit about why I love it. This shot in particular comes from very near the end of the film, so massive spoiler warning. If you want to watch this movie, I recommend doing what I did and going in without knowing too much about what's going to happen. Okay? Good. I will stop pestering you, and now I will get on with the video. The shot itself is super simple, but very bold. It lasts about 3.5 minutes as one character, who has just been drugged, sleeps on the sofa, whilst the other goes off screen to commit the murder she's been planning all movie. The plan of the murderer is to frame her best friend for doing the deed. Now, in spite of the fact that this shot is very simple compared to other oneers that take a similar amount of time, there is a lot to love about it. From the balance between the foreground and the background, to the fact that we never actually see her do anything. We're just given a good sense of before and after. The shot doesn't move much, but it does slowly, constantly push in, which ratchets up the tension. There's lots of cool things going on here, but looking at the shot without the context of the movie can only tell you so much. One of my favourite things about this shot is how it contains payoffs for several moments earlier in the film. The first is blindingly obvious. Just a few moments ago, Lily said she was going to murder her stepfather and frame it on Amanda because of the fact that Amanda doesn't have emotions and it means that her life is less valuable. Setup is she says it, the payoff is she does it. But that's not the only thing being paid off here. Earlier in the film, Lily talked about her stepfather's rowing machine, which we can hear being used off screen. In a lovely touch, it sounds something like a faint heartbeat. When it stops, we know why. There's also a callback to an earlier scene which takes some explaining. Lily's real father died a few years ago, and Amanda was her best friend at the time. Amanda can't cry, at least not genuinely. She never cries just because she can't help it. Earlier in the film, Amanda admits this and that she has a technique that helps her to pretend. This results in this moment.
Do you remember that time in 9th grade when we were driving home from my dad's funeral and you were holding me and we were crying?
Yeah?
Were you using the technique?
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't mean that Amanda doesn't care or can't care. She's offered to hug or hold Lily when she's in pain twice in the film. And all of that is paid off in this moment here. Just like when Lily cried at her father's death and Amanda held her in the car, we see that played out again, only Amanda is unconscious. Regardless of what Amanda is actually doing, Lily is using her for exactly the same thing that she's been using her for all movie, and by the sounds of it, for her entire life, as a tool for her emotional support. This also brings us nicely to the final thing I want to talk about. The film, up until the previous scene, has presented the characters in a certain way. Amanda is alien, hardly human. She speaks with a brutal honesty, and any emotions she does seem to portray are a faked imitation of humanity. Hell, we find out halfway through the film that she's on trial for animal cruelty for killing a horse. Lily, on the other hand, seems far more human. She shows fear, she cries, she initially balks at the idea of murdering her stepfather. In the previous scene, and supported by some other later scenes in the film, these allegiances shift. We find that Lily is more than willing to just throw Amanda under the bus to get away with murder, and we find that Amanda is more than willing to be a part of it, either out of self-hatred or out of genuine love and care for Lily. That part isn't quite clear. And in one of my favourite moments from the film, in this shot, we and Lily are reminded of just how human Amanda is. A little, tiny, momentary snore. It grabs Lily's attention and all the guilt comes rushing in. This would almost be a sweet moment if Lily wasn't using Amanda two ways at the same time. First, as a prop in her crime, and second, as a human comfort blanket. It's this little moment here, wrapped in a wonderful, simple yet complicated shot, that makes us ask, who really is more human? Thank you very much for watching. I am trying some new things with different editing styles, different kinds of formats of videos. So if you want to see more of those, please do subscribe, hit the notification button. If you like this video, please do press like. And if you have a favorite, really simple one that lasts for more than a couple of minutes in a film that you think is underappreciated, please let me know in the comments, because not enough people are really still talking about Thoroughbreds. I think it's a little bit overlooked. I hope you all have wonderful days, and I will see you in the future.